At 4:17 local time, the USS Nitz's ANSPY-1D radar flagged 3 fast-moving surface contacts entering the outer edge of its tracking envelope in the Strait of Hormuz. Bearing 112 degrees, range 14.2 nautical miles, speed 32 knots and increasing. The sea was calm, visibility was clear, commercial traffic was scattered along the shipping lane to the south. Nothing unusual, until those returns sharpened. The 3 contacts were small, low radar cross-section, tight spacing. Course line projected straight toward the destroyer's starboard bow. The tactical action officer leaned closer to the display. The system auto-tagged them as surface tracks, classification pending. No AIS broadcast, no civilian transponder signal, just clean returns moving with intent. Range, now 13.6 nautical miles, speed 34 knots. That speed mattered. Fishing boats don't close like that in formation. Cargo ships don't run that tight. The destroyer maintained course and speed, 18 knots on a routine transit pattern inside internationally recognized waters. Range, 12.9 nautical miles. The contacts adjusted bearing slightly. Not a random drift, a correction. Now the projected closest point of approach tightened. The bridge was notified. Combat Information Center shifted from routine watch posture to focused tracking. No alarms, no shouting. Just numbers updating every sweep. 3 fast contacts, closing in, deliberate, and still outside weapons range. At 12.4 nautical miles, the combat system began refining the tracks. Speed steady at 33 knots, spacing 400 yards in between hulls, shallow V formation. The profile matched known fast-track inshore attack craft used by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy. Small hull, high power-to-weight ratio, designed for speed and close maneuvering. But profile is not proof. The system could measure velocity, heading, radar return size, but it could not measure intent. No weapons visible on radar, no fire control illumination, no targeting signal detected by the SLQ-32 electronic warfare suite. The spectrum was quiet. Range now down to 11.8 nautical miles. The contacts maintained vector directly toward the destroyer's projected track line. Not weaving, not fishing, not drifting. The intelligence summary for the area had noted prior fast approach encounters in this waterway. Harassment patterns, close passes, sudden turns away. Still, none of that qualifies as hostile action. The officer of the deck requested bridge-to-bridge identification. No response. 3 high-speed craft, no transponders, no radio reply. And still, legally, just unknown surface contacts in international waters. Range 11.2 nautical miles, speed 34 knots, bearing steady. Inside the Combat Information Center, the tactical picture was clear. What wasn't clear was intent. And under U.S. Navy rules of engagement, that distinction matters. A fast approach alone does not equal hostile intent. The destroyer could not fire simply because 3 boats were closing in at speed. International waters allow freedom of navigation. Even aggressive maneuvering by itself does not meet the legal threshold for engagement. To use force, there must be a demonstrated hostile act or clear hostile intent. There aren't any weapons being discharged, there's no targeting radar, and there's no collision course locked in. The projected closest point of approach, 1,200 yards off the starboard side if current vectors held. Uncomfortably close, still not legally hostile. Range now down to 10.6 nautical miles. The CO was notified. He didn't order any warning shots. He didn't authorize any escalation. Instead, it was maintain course, maintain speed, and continue monitoring. The math inside the room was simple. 3 fast craft at 34 knots close 1 nautical mile roughly every 2 minutes. Time to potential intercept, under 20 minutes. Plenty of time to think. Not enough room for mistakes. Track continuously, the captain ordered. Weapons remain in standby. Because once you fire, there's no rewind button. Range 10.1 nautical miles. The captain stepped into the Combat Information Center as the radar sweep refreshed again. Set condition 3 surface, he said calmly. The destroyer shifted posture. Forward, the Mk-45 5-inch gun rotated off its resting position. Not locked, not targeting, just trained. A message without words. Above the hangar, the Phalanx CIWS powered up. The white dome began its slow mechanical turn as the system ran internal checks. The mount can fire 4,500 rounds a minute. Right now, it's only watching. The SLQ-32 electronic warfare suite continued scanning the spectrum. No fire control radar. No missile seeker tone. Airspace clear. Range 9.6 nautical miles. On the flight deck, the MH-60R Seahawk crew moved with purpose. Rotor blades unfolded, power cart connected. The helicopter would give the ship eyes beyond the radar picture, confirmation of hull type, visible weapons, or crew posture. Spy 1D maintained hard track on all 3 contacts. The system now predicted a closest point of approach under 1,000 yards if neither side altered course. Speed unchanged, formation intact. Weapons, stand ready, the captain ordered. A pause. Hold fire. Every system was live, but nothing had crossed the line. Range, 8.9 nautical miles. The contacts were now well inside visual horizon for a ship of this size. At 34 knots, they were covering nearly 1 nautical mile every 2 minutes. Spy 1 recalculated. The projected closest point of approach now, 850 yards. Time to CPA, 14 minutes. The numbers were tightening. Inside the CIC, no one raised their voice. Updates moved into steady rhythm. Track 1 steady, Track 2 holding speed, Track 3 adjusting 2 degrees port. That last correction, that mattered. The lead craft shifted slightly, nudging the formation's vector closer to the destroyer's projected path. Not enough to declare a collision course, but enough to narrow margins. Range, 8.1 nautical miles. The USS Nitze was operating 13 nautical miles off the Iranian coastline. That distance really matters too. 12 nautical miles marks territorial waters. Beyond that line is international sea space, open to lawful transit by any navy. Legally, the destroyer was clear. Geographically, the room was tight. The Strait of Hormuz narrows to roughly 21 nautical miles at its slimmest point. Commercial tankers moved in designated traffic lanes. Civilian hulls crossed predictable routes. Everyone watched everyone. The 3 fast craft were approaching from the north, inside their own coastal operating area, pushing outward toward the transit corridor. Range 6.9 nautical miles. The destroyer maintained 18 knots, steady helm. Any sharp turn could complicate the shipping picture to the south. This was not open ocean. This was a controlled artery of global trade, where small movements can carry large meaning. Projected CPA, 680 yards. Enough space to avoid collision, not quite enough to ignore. The sea remained calm, the air remained clear, and the distance kept shrinking. Range down to 6.5 nautical miles. The call came out, launched the helo. On the flight deck, the Seahawk spooled up to full power. Rotor wash kicked across the non-skid surface as the deck crew cleared and signaled. Within seconds, the helicopter lifted cleanly into the dark blue morning sky. Altitude 300 feet and climbing, vector direct intercept of the 3 surface contacts. From above, radar uncertainty becomes visual clarity. Range from the helo, 4 nautical miles. The crew switched to electro-optical zoom. 3 small fast craft, fiberglass hulls, riding high on a plane at over 30 knots. White wakes cutting sharp lines behind them. Formation confirmed, V-shape, lead boat slightly ahead, 2 wing boats offset evenly. Visible on deck, mounted heavy machine guns. Crew wearing dark uniforms and ballistic vests. No fishing gear, no civilian markings. Iranian naval flags visible at the stern. The Seahawk crew transmitted the imagery back to the destroyer in real time. High-definition feed piped directly into combat. Range from the destroyer, 5.8 nautical miles. The boats did not alter speed when the helicopter appeared overhead. They didn't wave, they didn't broadcast, and they didn't slow. Instead, the lead craft adjusted heading 3 degrees starboard, tightening the intercept geometry. Projected CPA now under 600 yards. Still, no weapons raised. Still, no radar lock. But now there was no doubt about who they were. Range 4.8 nautical miles. The 3 boats maintained formation, wake lines steady, engines pushing hard. Inside combat, the radio circuit remained open. Everyone waited for a reply. None came. Range 4.6 nautical miles. Above, the Seahawk orbited wide, rotor noise thumping steadily through the morning air. The 3 fast craft stayed on their throttles, bows slightly raised as they cut through the flat water. Range 4.2 nautical miles. Inside combat, the only sounds were quiet callouts and the soft sweep tone of the radar cycle. Track steady, speed unchanged. Electronic warfare units remained clean. No targeting emissions, no missile guidance radar, just open spectrum. Projected CPA down to 520 yards, less than a third of a nautical mile. The destroyer held at 18 knots with a steady rudder. The boats continued closing. Still no radio reply. Still no clear hostile act. Just distance collapsing 1 sweep at a time. Range 3.9 nautical miles. The destroyer's message was simple. We see you. We're ready. Do not force the next step. Every system armed. Every weapon silent. Range 1.6 nautical miles. The lead boat reduced throttle first. Its bow settled a little bit lower in the water. Its wake narrowed. Speed drops from 34 knots to 22. Projected CPA widened to 520 yards. Inside combat, no one relaxed. A slowdown can be repositioning. It can also be a setup. Range 1.2 nautical miles. This was no longer a charge. It was controlled proximity. Close enough to be seen clearly from the bridge. Close enough to make a point. Range 0.9 nautical miles. The 3 boats held a parallel course for nearly 2 minutes. Then the lead craft made the move. A gradual turn to port. Not sharp, not sudden, just enough to widen the gap. The wing boats followed in sequence. Speed increased briefly to 25 knots as they angled away from the destroyer's beam, pointing back towards the northern coastline. Projected CPA dissolved. Separation expanding. 0.8 nautical miles. 1.1, 1.6. Inside combat, the radar tracks shifted from threat geometry to outbound vectors. Range up to 2.4 nautical miles and opening. The destroyer never altered course, never fired a shot. The encounter ended the same way it began, with distance. Range 3.1 nautical miles and increasing. The captain ordered the event logged. Timestamps were preserved, radar tracks were archived, bridge audio saved, and the VHF transmission recordings were stored. The Seahawk downloaded full-motion video to the ship's intelligence system, every frame tagged with a bearing, range, and GPS overlay. Electronic warfare logs confirmed no targeting radar, no missile guidance signals, no hostile emissions during the encounter. The official report would include speed profiles, closest point of approach, and radio attempts in both English and Farsi. No damage, no injuries, no shots fired, just data. And a record that this transit did not go unnoticed. By 4:46 local time, the 3 outbound tracks had cleared 5 nautical miles and continued east toward their coastline. The destroyer maintained 18 knots, course unchanged, transit uninterrupted. No missiles launched, no warning shots fired, no collision. What happened that morning was just controlled pressure. The 3 fast craft approached at high speed. They tested distance, they tested reaction time, they tested discipline. And the response they received was measured. Every movement was recorded, every bearing logged, every second documented. This wasn't an accident at sea. It wasn't a navigation error. It was a deliberate close approach, inside one of the world's narrowest maritime corridors, handled without escalation. The line was never crossed, but it was approached. Would you have held your fire at 400 yards? No shots fired, no headlines screaming war, just 2 sides testing the limits in open water. These close encounters keep happening. Fast approaches, tight distances, careful restraint. So here's the real question. What do you think about the situation between the US and Iran at sea? Should warships be responding more aggressively, or is discipline and restraint the smarter move? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching Military Legends. Let's keep sharing these stories from the sea and create more respect for the men and women who live and serve aboard ships around the world. If you value real stories like this one, like the video and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.